So, Geoff, we've lost at home after a really good run. How do you see the game?
Um, I think overall they shaded it. I think, and it was a game where I just think we sort of lost out in a little bit of know-how and sort of experience, where you could tell you're playing against teams who sort of players who play sort of higher up the pyramid and just sort of know what to do at certain phases of the game. Now, all that being said, it's two sort of free kicks that we've sort of conceded that's put us on the back foot. And then we got back into the game, started really well second half. But then obviously the third has really sort of killed us. And yes, they went down to 10 men, but then sort of like to keep with the momentum, you need to score quite early, because it wasn't really that long left. But overall, like I said, it wasn't a bad performance. I just think we just got beaten in those sort of like those fine moments of the game, defining moments really that you need to sort of do better in to sort of get a result. But it's as you say, look, it's on the back of a sort of a good run, and this shouldn't really derail us at all. Really, we just need to get back on the horse, as you say, and sort of get a result next week. And we're still in and around where we want to be. We want to be in the playoff positions. Don't get me wrong, but within touching distance, you just put another run as we have done previously before, and it gets us back in there.
So, taking the negative, then we have conceded quite a few on free kicks in the last few weeks, and obviously two today.
Yeah, I mean the first one again, I would need to see it. It just looked like a really sort of good free kick in the sense of like the wall's being set up and where it ended up. It would have to be really good technique, to get it in because I think Jack would have covered his side of the goal and the wall looked relatively tall. So again, I'd have to see if it's gone through the wall, but where it's ended up, it's great. The second one, I think we would want to do better at. Obviously it's gone through. Jack obviously struck him well. He's tried to parry it, but can we get there first? That's what you always want to ask. If it's a parry, can we have that bit of desire to get there first? And just clear it out. And there, it's 2-0 down because I think what happened was Sam got injured. Which sort of disrupted us a little bit in that little bit of sort of phase of play where we were adjusting. The guys got in behind Charlie, conceded a free kick, and then we never really got back from that, which is again frustrating because first 20 minutes you want to get yourself into the game. We'll see in it, we'll get into good positions, but again, a negative of ours which I feel like we need to improve on just in general is that final ball. When we do beat their press and get behind, if you're playing sort of transition football with teams that are playing a high line, that execution of the pass needs to be needs to be good because we know, once Noah and Fred get in behind the defense, they're gonna sort of create problems, and that's what happened with the goal we scored. So if we could get that execution a bit better, get the front three playing a little bit more fluid in terms of their interchanging and the passing, I think that's the next step where we can kick on. Because I think defensively we're strong, midfield we're competing. As I said, it's just that last part, and I've discussed this before. Even when we was on our run, improving that conversion rate from chances or to getting into these action zones and producing better, I think then we can sort of really, really kick on.
Just picking up another negative before we move on to the positive. There's quite a few injuries today, and we've had a
Oh,
few in the last week. What's going on
yeah. Do
there?
you know what? We've had it all season, I'll be honest with you. In terms of our conditioning, and we obviously encourage players to do their little bits because we only train once a week, as people know. So within the week, we do like people to try and sort of tick themselves over. If it's 5-a-side, maybe go in gym. But yeah, it's just that sort of period where we actually were doing better. Our injury list was getting better, but now obviously he's reverting back. Sam pulling up, Ross pulling up. And these obviously with our game plan, it disrupts it slightly. Not to say, is it the players will
Cold
come
weather
on.
and heavy pitches.
That also helps. It's that sort of time. If you are running on an injury, usually you can maybe get through it. Tammy was playing on an injury. Charlie had to come off half time because of an injury as well. So all we can really do, as I said, outside, just encourage them, to put a plan. Kaz, the physio does well in terms of trying to put plans together for the players in terms of the recovery, and then we're trying to manage it as well. Like Joel could have been in the squad today, but again, with the injuries that we've got, we didn't want to again put a player with a potential sort of bring them back too soon. Jeff was another one who's really coming back nursing an injury, so we're trying to manage it as much as possible, and that's obviously includes maybe adding to the squad a little bit so players can have maybe an extra week's rest, before they sort of come back because it's getting to the busy period as well. It's like Christmas, pitches will be like this, conditions will be like this, so they've just got to manage themselves a bit better during the week, extra warm downs. We try and do extra warm ups during training as well. So we're trying to limit injuries as much as possible. So we're hoping, as I said, it can ease up. Hopefully we'll get some feedback, obviously, over the weekend and on Monday, how Sam and Charlie are doing, because big game next week, as I said. And this league, what you find is like the disparity. I know Meridian, for instance, haven't got any points, but when you play them, you do think they're just maybe a couple of players away, and it was a tough game. We only beat them 1-0. They're not really getting beat by many teams, and that's throughout the league. Whatever game you're playing, there seems to be 1 goal, 2 goal margin. So it shows how tough the league is at the moment. And again, the results, I think, maybe went in our favour today. So every game's tough. There's no games you can really potentially go and rotate, 4 or 5 players, bring in some fringe players. You really got to go with your best team most weeks, to get a result. And so we're finding that out. So yeah, I think we're trying to add a few. I think we've got about that. Yeah, there we go. We're adding a few more bodies. Keep that in the Let's go add a few to the squad as well, making sure, as I said, we're ticking over, and then like I said, making sure they're fully fit and we can get players really up to speed, and then, as I said, it just helps the team in that aspect.
And then positives. Fred got another goal. He's on a bit of a
he's been outstanding, to be honest. And like I said, I think out of the front three, I think he's the one sort of looking most likely, to produce that real bit of quality to win us games, and obviously it's a good assist to Noah. It's the sort of goal we've been trying to encourage them to do much more of, being a bit more direct, using what their attributes, and then can we get these sort of goals, which the squaring it across the box and for tap-ins, because they're so effective, especially in games like that, and picking the right decision, getting into final third, the right decision. In other games we may have got in that position, might try to go on our own, shot at the keeper or goes wide, you lose the opportunity. And teams, the good teams, if you're watching this league, and a lot of goals they score, they're very, very basic, the cutbacks, or tap-ins or at the back post, and we can score many more of those as well. And I think, like I say, regardless of obviously how many goals we've scored this season, we can score much more. And especially scoring at critical times is important in games like this. They scored the first goal today and able to sort of adjust and get in the ascendancy. If we score the first goal, again, confidence is with us. We're on a good run. We can keep to our shape and say, okay, what are you going to do now? But obviously we had to adjust, when they went 2 up. So we started to press a little bit higher and force the game. And obviously they struggled to handle us to a certain degree as well.
How would you rate them among the top of the table teams?
They're good. They're up there. Like I said, of the teams that we faced, Croydon were really good. Even though, again, we gave them goals, but they're up there, and you can see why. Remember, I think they've only played 12, 13 games. So if they win their games in hand, they're right in contention, to be for the playoffs. If you look at the league as well, probably up to 10th, 11th could put a run together in the playoffs, and that's how tough the league is. And this sort of period now, between now maybe January, February, will sort of separate the teams who really are serious and the ones who maybe will leave themselves too much to do. So we want to be in that pack and to be able to put that run, because we've still got Croydon to play, Forest Hill to play again. We've got these to play as well. We've got Tower Hamlets coming up very soon. So we want to put ourselves in there, as I said, in contention. And even if it gets to a point where you're in these games and you take a point, you'd rather that rather than obviously than losing and then giving away 3 points against teams in and around you, and making it difficult. So I think they'll be up there, if they can keep this team together, because that's always the key, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen with Croydon, with their players, where they're going, what players at Forest Hill are going to stay. You just don't know. And it's a silly season, which I call it in the league, players getting signed, players from Pyramid coming down, players going up. So what we're really good at and what we have been traditionally good at is keeping our squads together and relatively keeping them, happy. And that comes from camaraderie, keeping them training together, the group chat stuff. These little things help, So if you are sort of approached by other teams, you don't want to leave what you have here. And again, that should keep us in good stead in terms of coming towards the end of the season, that we've had a squad pretty much that's been here for a few years and towards the end of the season as well.
Right, we'll finish there. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for coming.